Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight. Your one stop for the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi. Here are the headlines. Rajya Sabha adjourned for the day as Congress seeks clarification from the Prime Minister on his comment against Manmohan Singh. Chair's pleas for order go unheeded. At the BJP parliamentary meeting, Prime Minister Narendra Modi party workers to promote young faces, credits the twin election victories to the people of Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh. The US expresses concern over reports of Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed running for office in Pakistan. Angered by his release from house arrest, the US calls for his immediate prosecution. And Trump finally gets his way. US Senate approves the most sweeping overhaul of the US tax system in more than 3 decades. Democrats say it favors only the rich. Our top story, the opposition Congress forced adjournment of Rajya Sabha proceedings on Wednesday. The Congress demanded an apology from Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his alleged remarks against his predecessor Manmohan Singh. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu said that it was futile to demand an apology for a statement made outside the House.
Go to your seats. There is a resolution adopted by the Rajya Sabha. Having remembered his gratitude.
The upper house witnessed several disruptions on Wednesday as the Congress members demanded an apology from the Prime Minister. Congress members trooped into the well of the House shouting slogans.
Please, आप लोग बैठ जाइए, please. बैठ जाइए, बैठ जाइए. बाकी लोगों का अधिकार छीनने के लिए प्रयास मत करिए, please.
Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu urged the members to allow the House to function. He said an apology cannot be sought in Rajya Sabha for statements made outside the House.
This is not the way. Nobody is going to give apology. Nothing happened in this House. No statement is made in this House. So there is no practice of suspending the question hour. Please go back to your seats. Don't make a mockery of the House. Already wrong message is going.
He also reminded members of their pledge to uphold the dignity, sanctity and supremacy of Parliament.
This is not the way. ये Parliament है, Rajya Sabha है, Upper House है. Please don't create such situation. गलत मैसेज जा रही. आपके लिए भी अच्छा नहीं है, देश के लिए भी अच्छा नहीं, सदन के लिए भी अच्छा नहीं.
The chairman's appeals failed to placate the Congress members. 0 hour and question hour were paralyzed, and the constant protests compelled the chair to adjourn the House.
House stands on. I cannot ask anybody. I cannot ask anybody. It is for the chair cannot ask anybody like that. The House stands adjourned till 11 hours on Thursday, 21st December 2017.
Kriti Mishra's report. Well, even in the post-lunch session, the standoff persisted between the Congress and the government. Leader of opposition in the House, Ghulam Nabi Azad, demanded a clarification from the Prime Minister over his remarks, and the government denied all the charges, but the stalemate washed out the proceedings of the day.
Soon after the House assembled at 2 p.m, Leader of Opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad demanded an explanation from the Prime Minister over his remarks against former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh during the Gujarat elections.
हम सरकार से यही रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी जब कल आएं और जिस कॉन्स्पिरेसी का उन्होंने गुजरात इलेक्शन में उल्लेख किया था, जिसमें भूतपूर्व प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह जी का भी उन्होंने उल्लेख किया है, बाकी बहुत सारे लोगों का उल्लेख किया है, तो अल्टीमेटली तो वो कॉन्स्पिरेसी तो कोई निकली नहीं और ना कॉन्स्पिरेसी पाकिस्तान के साथ मिलकर करने का तो प्रश्न ही पैदा नहीं होता है. हमारा कोई साधारण कांग्रेसी वर्कर भी कभी सोच भी नहीं सकता है कि पाकिस्तान के साथ मिलकर अपनी पार्टी के, चाहे वो विपक्ष में ही हो, चाहे वो हमारे विरोध में हो, उसके खिलाफ साजिश करने का पाकिस्तान के साथ मिलकर तो कोई सवाल पैदा नहीं हो सकता है. और वैसा आदमी तो कांग्रेस पार्टी में वर्कर है, वो भी नहीं रहेगा. और इतने बड़े लीडरों पर आरोप लगाना भूतपूर्व प्रधानमंत्री, भूतपूर्व उपराष्ट्रपति और भूतपूर्व सेनापति, हमने माफी की बात नहीं करते हैं, हमने कहा स्पष्ट करें।
Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Vijay Goyal refuted all the charges levelled by the opposition.
उन्होंने किसी षड्यंत्र, किसी कॉन्स्पिरेसी की बात नहीं कही है। पूरा टेक्स्ट अगर आप पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें देखा जा सकता है।
Amid the din, Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan moved the Indian Institute of Petroleum and Energy Bill.
Lok Sabha be taken into consideration. Now, please.
Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian urged Congress members to allow the House to function.
Let there be order in the House. Not the tradition of this House. Let us take up the bill. Let us take up the bill.
With no visible resolution, the Deputy Chairman
House stands adjourned till 11 hours on Thursday, 21st December 2017.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu had suggested that all contentious issues could be resolved amicably. He had also urged the members to uphold the dignity, sanctity and supremacy of Parliament. It remains to be seen now whether the logjam persists or a conciliation emerges between the two sides. From Parliament House, with inputs from Panchanan Mishra and with camera person D.K. Pandey, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, while Rajya Sabha was deadlocked on Wednesday over the demands of the opposition Congress, the upper house did manage to conduct some formal business. Here are the details of that.
Many ministers tabled papers pertaining to their ministries in the Rajya Sabha on Wednesday. Santosh Kumar Gangwar tabled papers for Ministry of Labour and Employment, while Mahesh Sharma tabled papers for Ministry of Culture. KJ Alphonse tabled papers for the Ministry of Tourism, while Kiran Rijiju tabled papers for the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Home Affairs on the action taken by the government on recommendations.
Many reports of the department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee were also presented. These related to the Ministries of Health, Family Welfare, Finance and Transport, Tourism and Culture.
In English and Hindi of the department-related Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture.
As a member of the Tobacco Board constituted.
The House also adopted a motion to elect a member from the House to serve as member of the Tobacco Board.
Those against will please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Shri Dharmendra Pradhan.
The House mentioned against my name is
Union Ministers Dharmendra Pradhan, Mahesh Sharma and Kiran Rijiju also made statements pertaining to their ministries. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Congress protests led to adjournment of the Lok Sabha's pre-lunch proceedings as well, with the party insisting on a clarification from the Prime Minister on his comments against Manmohan Singh. The House was first adjourned till noon, just minutes after it had assembled for the day, and then again till 2 p.m. as the protests continued. At noon, after the first adjournment to take up 0 hour, Congress members trooped into the well, raising slogans and asking Speaker Sumitra Mahajan to allow their leader, Mallikarjun Kharge, to speak. Both 0 hour and question hour were lost to the uproar. Lok Sabha has passed a bill to amend the regulations on the comparison payable by the central government for acquiring property for defence and security purposes. The Immovable Property Amendment Bill, which was moved by the Urban Development Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, was adopted by a voice vote. The bill seeks to amend a provision to allow the centre to reissue the notice of acquisition in order to ensure that the property's owner gets an opportunity to be heard. Replying to the debate, Urban Development Minister clarified that there was no intention to reopen cases where compensation has already been paid.
This is a 12th amendment being brought for a very limited and specific purpose. I had mentioned, and an honourable member reminded me, that any sovereign state must have the power to requisition and then acquire land for the purposes of defence and national security.
Lok Sabha passed the Indian Forest Amendment Bill 2017 on Wednesday. The amended legislation would omit bamboos growing in non-forest areas from the definition of trees. Union Minister for Environment and Forests Harshvardhan said that the bill would encourage bamboo plantation by farmers and would enhance their income. The minister said that the bill would help improve rural economy as it permits felling and transit of bamboo grown in non-forest areas. However, he clarified that bamboo grown on forest lands would continue to be classified as trees and would be guided by restrictions as per the law. The bill will replace the ordinance promulgated by the President on the 23rd of November. Several opposition members, in fact, they had objected to the promulgation of the ordinance, saying that it amounted to bypassing Parliament.
जो ट्री की डेफिनेशन है उसमें से बैम्बू को हटाकर बैम्बू से जुड़े हुए सारे व्यवसाय को, व्यापार को, फॉरेस्ट कवर के साथ जुड़े हुए पॉजिटिव मूवमेंट को देश के अंदर स्ट्रेंथन करने की सरकार की मंशा है। और इस मंशा के माध्यम से हम इस बैम्बू मिशन से जुड़े हुए हजारों, लाखों, करोड़ों लोगों को बेहतरी का जीवन देना चाहते हैं।
The Union Cabinet has approved a new consumer protection bill that seeks to establish an authority to safeguard consumers' rights along with provisions to deal with misleading ads. The introduction of the Consumer Protection Bill 2017 has been approved. The bill seeks to enlarge the scope of the existing law and make it more effective and purposeful. It also seeks to establish a central consumer protection authority to promote, protect and enforce consumer rights, while also providing for a ban on celebrities for misleading advertisements. The approval follows Prime Minister Narendra Modi's recent saying that consumer protection is the government's priority. The Cabinet has approved a project to set up India's first National Rail and Transport University in Vadodara in Gujarat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a BJP parliamentary meeting in New Delhi on Wednesday, and at the meeting, the Prime Minister dedicated the recent victories in Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh to the people of both the states and urged party workers to work harder for the general elections in 2019.
After securing victories in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the BJP parliamentary meet on Wednesday. At the meeting, attended by top BJP leaders and union ministers, Modi called for strengthening the party ahead of the 2019 Lok Sabha polls. He also pitched for promoting young faces inside and outside the party.
नई पीढ़ियों को हमें आगे लाना होगा। भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्य के लिए, सामाजिक कार्य के लिए और देश की सेवा के लिए, और त्याग और परिश्रम, यही मंत्र लेकर के आगे बढ़ना होगा।
Dedicating the election victory to the people of the two states, Modi urged party leaders not to get affected by the opposition's disinformation campaign against the BJP.
ये जो हमारे विपक्ष वाले क्रेडिबिलिटी के बारे में और कई गलत तरीके के निचले स्तर के कैंपेन करना, अफवाहें फैलाना, दुष्प्रचार करना, ये सब कर रहे हैं, उससे विचलित न होते हुए हमारे बूथ स्तर के कार्यकर्ता और आम जनता, इन दोनों के सहारे जीत के तरफ अग्रसर होने का उन्होंने संदेश दिया।
In his address, BJP President Amit Shah criticized the Congress for claiming it a moral victory in the Gujarat polls. Shah said it was a laughable exercise for the opposition party to see victory in defeat. With Panchanan Mishra, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A review meet on the progress of the Polavaram Dam project was held in Delhi. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu conducted the review along with BJP MP from Andhra Pradesh, Babu, and Union Minister Nitin Gadkari. Gadkari answered the queries of other members present there and assured that there were no hurdles from the centre and that rehabilitation issues will be sorted out by the state government. Hari Babu was accompanied by Andhra Pradesh Health Minister K. Srinivas, MLA A. Satyanarayan and V.K. Raju. Polavaram project is a multi-purpose irrigation one that has been accorded national project status. This dam across the Godavari is under construction in West and East Godavari districts in Andhra Pradesh. The Delhi government on Wednesday held a trial run of the anti-smog gun in the city. The test was conducted in Anand Vihar area where air quality index had touched 414, which falls in the very poor zone. Mounted on a vehicle and connected to a water tank, the anti-smog gun sprays water to settle dust and suspend particles. Environment Minister Imran Hussain was also present at the trial run.
हम लोग बैठते हैं, मीटिंग्स होती हैं काफ़ी, तो उसके अंदर ये बात निकल के आती है अगर मिस्ट ऊपर से डालेंगे या पानी डालेंगे या बारिश होगी तो जो पर्टिकुलेट मैटर्स होते हैं PM 2.5, PM 10 और दूसरे जो पॉल्यूशन वो होते हैं तो वो इससे ख़त्म हो जाते हैं, बैठ जाते हैं नीचे। तो उसको देखते हुए ये इसका यहाँ ट्रायल कराया जा रहा है और पॉल्यूशन लेवल्स इसको चलाने से पहले के भी लिए जा रहे हैं और इसको चलने के बाद के भी लिए जा रहे हैं।
And here's a look at what else made news across the country today in Nationwide. The Juvenile Justice Board on Wednesday ruled that the 16-year-old student accused of murdering Pradyuman Thakur of Ryan School in Gurugram will be tried as an adult. Pradyuman was found with his throat slit inside a washroom at the school in September. The CBI had arrested the suspect last month. Delhi's Shalimar Bagh Max Hospital resumed operations after getting relief from the Court of Financial Commissioner. In a statement, hospital authorities said that they were fully focused on providing quality care to the patients and even free treatment to the economically weaker sections of society. The Delhi government had cancelled the hospital's license earlier this month after it wrongly declared a newborn twin dead. Nursery school admissions will start in Delhi from the 27th of December. The first list will be announced on the 15th of February and the process will continue till the 31st of March. Admission criteria will be uploaded on the 26th of December, after which the admission forms will be available. The last date to submit application forms is the 17th of January. Admission marks will be announced by February 8th. Delhi's Patiala House Court granted bail to former Air Marshal Jaspal Singh Gujral in connection with the Augusta Westland chopper bribery scam. Gujral was granted bail on a bond of 2 lakh rupees. Gujral, who was IAF procurement chief in 2005, was reportedly part of the meeting where the change in technical specifications of the helicopters was purportedly discussed. The Goa bench of the Bombay High Court dismissed former Tehelka editor Tarun Tejpal's petition to discharge him of rape charges. It also dismissed his request to discard the trial. Tejpal had moved the Punjab bench of the Bombay High Court, challenging the framing of charges against him by the trial court. A quick break here. We'll be back with the top international stories in a bit. Stay with us.
50% जनता जो गुजरात की थी उसका फेथ अभी भी बीजेपी में है। कांग्रेस ये कहती है कि उनके लिए ये मॉरल विक्ट्री है।
गुजरात में जहां 22 साल के शासन के बाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी वापस आई है, वहीं उन्होंने केवल 5 साल के शासनकाल में हिमाचल प्रदेश को एंटी इनकम्बेंसी में खोया है।
जो नंबर्स आए हैं उसमें एक बहुत बड़ा रूरल और अर्बन डिवाइड दिखने को मिला है।
राजनीति कोई सीधी समतल कई बार जमीन नहीं होती, वो प्याज के छिलके की तरह लेयर पे लेयर होती है।
Had it not been for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it would have been difficult for BJP to win elections in Gujarat.
प्रधानमंत्री जी देश के वह नेता हैं जो सबसे ज़्यादा लोगों के साथ संवाद स्थापित करते हैं, और ये तो पार्टी का सौभाग्य है कि पार्टी के पास आज श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का नेतृत्व उपलब्ध है।
Watch to the point with BJP Rajya Sabha MP and Gujarat in charge, Bhupendra Yadav, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you the top international stories. And the US has once again expressed concern over Jamaat ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed running for office in Pakistan. US State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert told media persons that the US considers JUD a terror organization. Angered by Saeed's release from house arrest last month, the US had called for his immediate prosecution. The State Department spokesperson also reminded Pakistan that Hafiz Saeed, who founded in fact the terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba, carries a bounty of $10 million for terror activities. Hafiz Saeed allegedly masterminded the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, in which 166 people, including 6 Americans, were killed.
a man who is affiliated with LET, Lashkar-e-Taiba, one of the terror groups. It's a group that the United States government considers to be a terror organization. We have many good conversations with the government of Pakistan. One of the things that happened recently is that this guy was held on house arrest. Pakistan released him from house arrest. And now there's word that he may be running for some sort of office. I want to remind folks, we have a $10 million reward for justice program that would reward for information that would bring him to justice. So I want to make that clear so that everybody knows $10 million out for this guy, and we would certainly have concerns about him running for office.
The U.S. Senate has approved the most sweeping overhaul of the U.S. tax system in more than 3 decades. Republicans say that the tax cuts for corporations, small businesses and individuals will boost economic growth, but the Democrats, who all voted against it, say it is designed to benefit only the rich. Here's a report. The U.S. Senate passed a sweeping $1.5 trillion tax bill, the biggest overhaul of the U.S. tax code in more than 30 years. The bill, which includes permanent tax breaks for corporations and temporary tax cuts for individuals, was passed by a narrow margin of 51 to 48, with all Democrats united in opposition.
On this vote, the ayes are 51, the nays are 48. The Senate recedes from its amendment and concurs in H.R. 1. With further amendment, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is passed.
Earlier, the House of Representatives passed the bill with a comfortable majority of 227 to 203 votes. For final approval, the legislation must go back to the House for a procedural issue before it can be sent to the White House for the President to sign it into law.
I want to start off by thanking the American people, our constituents, for sending us here to do this work for them. This is one of the most important pieces of legislation that Congress has passed in decades to help the American worker, to help grow the American economy. This is profound change, and this is change that is going to put our country on the right path. For all those millions of men and women in America who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are struggling to get ahead, help is on the way.
This win in the Senate is the most significant legislative victory of 2017 for U.S. President Donald Trump and the congressional Republicans.
I have to say that this is a historic night. The Democrats have said that the American people will remember this night. I hope they do, because we passed one of the most important tax breaks in this country's history. And these folks here behind us all have contributed and helped make this a possibility.
Once enacted, the legislation will represent the most drastic changes to the U.S. tax code since 1986. Among the biggest gainers due to this bill are multinational corporations. Under the legislation, the federal corporate tax rate would fall from 35% to 21%, and the maximum individual income tax rate for the nation's wealthiest would drop from 39.6% to 37%. The Democratic opposition has denounced the legislation, calling it a giveaway to the wealthy and business community that will widen the income gap between the rich and the poor.
What a disgrace. That's what this bill is. It's an absolute disgrace. There is no reason for a single middle-class family to pay more while every single corporation pays less. If you wanted to help the middle class, give them a real tax break. The rich get far more dollars back than the middle class. That is fact, irrefutable fact.
The Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives will now give a final approval to the tax bill and send it to the President to sign into law, well in time for him to deliver what he has promised would be a big, beautiful Christmas present for America. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And here are more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. The United Nations General Assembly will hold an emergency special session on Thursday to discuss U.S. President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Palestine's UN envoy Riyad Mansour said that the General Assembly would vote on a draft resolution calling for Trump's declaration to be withdrawn. A similar Egypt-led resolution was vetoed by the U.S. in the 15-member UNSC on Monday. The World Bank has raised its forecast for China's economic growth in 2017 from 6.7% to 6.8%, based on rising household incomes and improving external demand. This was the World Bank's second upward revision for China this year, after it first revised the projection from 6.5% to 6.7% in April. The derailment of an Amtrak train in DuPont, Washington that killed 3 people and injured 100 others is likely to intensify scrutiny of the National Passenger Railroad Company's safety record. Amtrak's co-chief executive said that the derailment was a wake-up call and safety was the company's top priority. On Tuesday, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board said that the train was traveling at 130 kilometers per hour in a 48 kilometer per hour zone. The former Archbishop of Boston, Cardinal Bernard Law, who became a symbol of the Roman Catholic Church's worldwide sexual abuse scandals, died at the age of 86 on Wednesday. Law had been living in Rome and was in declining health in recent years. The cause of the death is not clear, but sources close to him say that he had been suffering from complications of diabetes and liver failure. And now let's get you some updates from the world of sports in SportsBeat. France's former Wimbledon champion Marion Bartoli announced her return to professional tennis in 2018 after more than 4 years of retirement. She confirmed her return to the women's tour in a video posted on her official Twitter account. Bartoli quit the sport in 2013, saying that her body could no longer keep up with the demands of the sport. She had won 8 WTA singles titles, finished runner-up at the Wimbledon in 2007 and reached the semi-finals of the French Open in 2011. North Koreans welcomed their national women's soccer team, who returned to the country after winning the 2017 East Asian Football Federation Championship in Japan. North Korean soccer fans and families of the athletes greeted the team at Pyongyang International Airport. Manchester City reached the semi-finals of the League Cup after beating Leicester. The game ended on a 1-1 in the playtime, which led to the penalty shootout that helped Manchester City clinch victory at 4-3. Bernardo Silva scored the opener in the 26th minute to give Manchester a 1-0 lead over Leicester, but an equaliser by Jamie Vardy in the extra time led to the penalty shootout. And finally, as we end the bulletin, we're leaving you with some visuals that are sure to cheer you up. These penguins are showcasing their antics at an ice show in a theme park in China's Harbin City, drawing crowds of tourists to the show. Take a look, and we'll see you tomorrow again.